Okay guys, this is a video that I have kind of for the last good few hours or so, and bear in mind it's late in the night when I'm recording this, but whenever you're watching it, as the title suggests, I am at the point now where Donald does have to go. I've been having a hefty debate with Sean Middleton, who's probably watching this, so in the comments about who actually saved the club, because he obviously believes Ellis Short did, I believe Stewart Donald did, and I do still, at least initially, initially, I do believe Donald to save the club. And what I mean by that is, let's get this argument out of the way once and for all. You can claim that they're Donald and Methvin saying this is absolute garbage and that they are just lying their way to us. And if you believe that, fair enough. I respect your opinion. But again, I equally and rightly expect people to simply accept. If I've got to accept that everybody else believes that Short saved the club, people are going to have to equally accept that I believe Donald did. The reason I believe Donald did, and this is just a subjective level, is that for me, going to Sunderland games in the final stages of Short's reign was a complete chore for me. I enjoyed the social aspect of it. I enjoyed going with mates to watch Sunderland, but I didn't enjoy watching the football. Now, granted, I'm not saying I enjoy watching League One football, but I do believe that, and I still firmly believe that squad should have easily had enough that season to stay up. And when you had the likes of Robin Reuter, you had Adam Matthews, Brian Oviedo, Tyus Browning, Lamine Coney, Lee Catmull, Didier Ndong, Lewis Grant. I know a couple of these players were only the half a season, but the point still stands. Callum McManaman, Aidan McGeady, Lewis Grant again. You had a host of players there that were easily better in technical quality than what teams were at the bottom end of the Championship. I don't want anybody telling me that squad should have got relegated, because it shouldn't. But that doesn't mean Short couldn't have done a little bit more to save the club. If Short saved the club for me, he could have easily chose 6 months earlier to save Sunderland. Sunderland were dying on its knees, but they were still in a position where they could have stayed up. And if he'd chosen and bothered to invest 5-10 million on even a couple of half-decent players, bearing in mind we sold Pickford and Minoni for 32 million, yeah, I know that some of the money had to go towards running the club, fair enough. But you can't tell me that we couldn't have invested even just a little bit of money into the squad. Give over. I'm not trying to have a go if you have a different opinion. My point was, towards the end of Short's reign, it was an absolute chore for me. And I know that I keep banging on about Ellis Short all the time, and I know it probably does get tedious, but I can't forgive that season, and I'm never going to forget it. Simple as that. So initially, when Methvin and Donald did have the podcast with Roke Report at the end of last season, they did mention that they were the only ones that were willing to take on the club without the debt being hemorrhaged towards them. Now, that bit I actually do believe them on. I know you can say you can't believe anything they say, and right now you can't. I can't justify that. But at that point, they could have easily, when Short was selling the club, I'm almost certain nobody would have took us on without the debt being transferred to them. Whether Short and Donald Methvin paid the club with their parachute money, yeah, in some respects that is probably pretty disgusting, to be honest. But the atmosphere around the training ground, this is coming from players who are at the club, the atmosphere around the training ground, at least initially for the first year, was much better than anything that was done under the back end of Short. Look at Lee Catmull's interview on Sunderland Till I Die. Someone who lives and breathes Sunderland in his bloodstream. He was saying he didn't believe anything they were doing in the club. And yeah, he might have been saying that because he isn't allowed to say anything different for the new ownership or whatever it is. But I believe that is genuine. So initially, I do believe Donald did save the club. Initially. Do I believe he's saving it now? No. And this gets on to my main crux of the video. I have grown fed up with talking about Stewart Donald, to be honest. I feel like if you say something completely different, that you get hounded out for having a different opinion, and I'm sick of it, quite frankly. People are more than entitled to believe differently without having to completely justify it. Like I said, Sean believes Ellis Short saved the club. You know what? There's more people that agree with him than me. Fair enough. He's more than entitled to have that opinion. Sorry, Sean, I do love you, by the way. But it's just, I've grown tired of talking about it, because I've been constantly asked over and over and over again, what's your opinion on Donald? Do you still like Stewart Donald now? That's the kind of tone. It's like, well, at the time, yes. Now, I've made this video, hopefully, in an attempt to finally put my thoughts out there once and for all, and to just have this be that. Yeah, there'll be people in the comments, possibly, who don't agree with me. That's, as long as they're respectful, I don't mind that. But now, I do believe Stewart Donald, because basically what's happened now, in the most recent attempt, in the last 24 hours or the last few days or so, is that Sunderland's state with the season cards was released. There was a Q&A that was released on Sunderland's website, and by the way, I'm inspired by Jam Sarni for this video, so go and watch his video on this, because it was a passionate rant, and I actually love watching him. Quality lad. But I do believe the Q&A was basically about season cards for this season and the 2021 season in amidst the global pandemic that when crisis we're currently in at the moment. Basically, the idea is that if the games are going to be behind closed doors next season, which they probably are going to be, if we're completely honest, you're not entitled to a refund, but you're entitled to a streaming pass. Now that I can't defend. That is absolutely shocking from Stewart Donald, and this will have come from Stewart Donald. This will have come ultimately from him, or he would have at least had heavy influence over this. I get that Sunderland, like many clubs down Leagues 1 and 2, will be struggling financially because this crisis is going to hit clubs hard. Some clubs, like even if you look at Tranmere, Southend, AFC Wimbledon, I'm just thinking of clubs that are randomly at the bottom end of League 1. Without fans, they probably cannot, I'm not a financial expert and I don't know anything about those clubs, but they probably cannot afford to run on that sort of match day expenditure without fans. And this is where the FA and EFL really need to step in and actually have a backbone about this. And I'm going to quickly go on this for a few seconds and then say no more here. The EFL are an absolute joke. The fact that League 2 has apparently been decided as it's going to be it's going to be finished, the season's going to be finished, no more games are going to be playing, the Premier League and Championship have returned, but yet League 1 is somehow still hasn't reached a decision yet. EFL give over, come on. This is absolute. I get you want to have people's interest at heart and safety, but if that's the case, then just finish the season. Simple as that. I think Sunderland still had a chance of going up anyway, but if we're not going to finish the season, then tell us, then we can at least go ahead into next season. But anyway, now that that's out of the way, the EFL, the point I was going to make was that is absolutely shocking. For Stewart Donald to expect people to pay £310 for this, and that's at minimum, by the way, that's going to be the minimum price. There are going to be probably more than a couple of hundred more that are going to be, that people will have paid for. And you're going to expect them to pay for the sake of a stream, which, let's be honest, the streams on the Sunderland website at very best is sketchy. They're not very good. So Donald has some nerve, I must admit, in asking people to pay that amount of money for a stream. And surely, by the same logic, if Sunderland are going to struggle financially, surely some Sunderland fans are going to be struggling financially. Donald Heck even said himself on Sunderland Till I Die, we're not exactly, the population of Sunderland is not exactly the richest in the country. Surely there's some Sunderland fans who will need that sort of money, especially some of whom have either been furloughed or have lost their jobs completely. So for me, that's very, very, very disrespectful to Sunderland fans, and I can't defend that. I just cannot defend that. I've reached my breaking point in some respect with Stewart Donald. Like I said, I do believe Donald initially saved the club, but I can't back him anymore. It's an absolute joke. So you know what? In the scheme of things, as of right now, whether he's the man to take the club forward, I'm wrong. Donald is not the man to take us forward, unfortunately. And in some respects, that's the season card's just one of the latest of things that have actually happened with Donald. One of the biggest things was John McLaughlin's contracts, for instance. Now, I understand, contracts are very difficult to sort out at the worst of times. But bearing in mind, if you look at John McLaughlin and Luke O'Nien, just the two main players whose contracts are expiring, Luke O'Nien apparently has a deal or a clause in his contract that triggers an extra year in his current in his contract. So he's got another year, basically. John McLaughlin, I have absolutely no idea why that, apart from maybe just saving money, and if that's the case, Donald, you're a charlatan for that. Why on earth has that contract not been sorted? John McLaughlin has easily been one of our best players since we've come into League 1, and although I will say very quickly, the fact that we are saying John McLaughlin, a goalkeeper, a bloomin' goalkeeper, has been one of Sunderland's best players in League 1 is embarrassing, because Sunderland should have a squad that should be murdering teams, quite frankly. And again, I'm sick to death of people telling me, oh, it's arrogant to expect that. Is it on earth, is it arrogant to expect that? It's an absolute joke that people keep coming at me with that. In our entire 141-year history, we have only been in League 1, including this current season, 3 seasons in 141. We have every right to expect to go up, and we should have every right, while we're in League 1, to walk it, or at least go up, automatically, not just through the playoffs, automatically, and to go and get players that are dictating games in this league. We should not be relying on our goalkeeper to help get us a win. Obviously, in key moments, yes, but not consistently, like to some extent we have been doing. And in saying that, though, John McLaughlin has still been very good. Yes, he was dodgy at the early part of this season, but for me, John McLaughlin should easily... We said a year ago we were willing to sell him for £5 million, and no less. So why the hell have you not sorted the contract then? Like, this is a joke. That is one thing that is absolutely criminal that Donald has not helped sort out yet. How the hell is John McLaughlin's contract being allowed to run down? He's apparently going to go to Blackburn Rovers, and he could still sign a new deal, but at this point it's looking less and less likely. And while I do believe Lee Burge is more than good enough to step up, Jamasoni was right in what he said, and I've said it all along. We have accepted mediocrity for far too long, but we should not be accepting losing our best goalkeeper on a free to Blackburn Rovers. Now, bearing in mind Blackburn in the Championship, fair enough, but he said multiple times, John McLaughlin, he's been willing to stay, nothing's been sorted out. Why? This should have been sorted out months ago. This should have been sorted out probably in the back end of... As soon as the summer transfer window finished, this should have been tied down and sorted. Simple as that. You know, and even to an extent, you could argue the Josh Maja saga. Penny pinching there. Even though I do believe Josh Maja was a bit of a snake in the way he left Sunderland, because he was happy to lie to us. People say Donald Methven lied to us, which they have done in some respects, but Josh Maja did exactly the same thing. He said he was going to stay. To many, many Sunderland fans, oh no, soon as the window opened, did a complete and utter 180. Bugger off, you sod. Honestly, it's ridiculous. But for me, though, that was a joke the way that was handled. Now, don't get us wrong. Now, like I said, I do still believe that initially Donald did save the club, at least for the first year or so. And it's a subjective reason. I fell properly back in love with Sunderland again. But where I will say, on the other side of this, Donald is seriously at risk of killing the club. If it's going to go the way it is, especially in the pandemic we're in now, we cannot afford, with the stadium, the facilities, the expenditures, everything we've got, we cannot afford... Sorry, I'm shaking the phone here. We cannot afford to be in League One in the long term. The longer we are in this division, the more I'm going to worry about our long-term future. We have got to get out of League One, and that is that. And I will say this, if I've said to Short, you could have spent money to make sure we didn't go down... Donald, you could easily have spent money in the windows to make sure that we go up. Liam Boyce going to Hearts for 150k. Yes, Burton may very well have wanted to sell him to us for more than that. But that's a joke that you didn't want to do that deal. If you didn't want to do that deal, that is an absolute joke for me. Simple as that. And Methven has had his own critics. Everyone's had their own critics. Juan Sartori, apparently he's supposed to be more involved. Where is he? Did he pay £1 share stake in the club? You know, and Donald needs to come out of hiding here, actually, because I do believe Donald has hid within at least the last 6 months, probably longer. Actually, yeah, probably the last 9 months, to be perfectly honest. So, look, I'm respectful of the fact that people think that Donald is a charlatan, and in some respects, he probably is a charlatan. I can't defend him anymore. I do still believe initially he saved the club, but now he is at risk of killing it. And he can't afford to run us in League One. It looks like he just can't. Maybe the reason that he's wanting to have all the money possible, which again is an absolute joke, it's Mike Ashley style behaviour, truth be told, is because he can't afford to run it now, or run us properly. But if that's the case, then and that's not even going into this £20 million debt thing. If he did do that, that is shocking and criminal. So you know what it is, Donald. For the sake of Sunderland, for the sake of the club and the sake of the long-term future, if you claim you care about the club, and a small part of me probably naively still wants to believe that you do, if you claim to care about the club, do your damn hardest to find a buyer and secure us for the long-term future. We can't afford to be in League One. We're not in size and stature. We are not a League One club, whether other people like to admit it or not. We shouldn't be accepting being in League One. Donald, you have to go. I am now Donald out. And it pains me to say it in a lot of respects, but Donald, I am wrong about Donald being the man for us. He's not. I love you and leave you guys, and I apologise that this video has been a complete ramble on. I just had to get this out there, and I'm hoping I've at least somewhat discussed my feelings adequately enough. Donald out once and for all, and I'm hoping this is the last time I am talking about Donald, because I'm getting sick of this. So for the sake of everything, a sale needs to happen. Take care, love you all lots, and thanks again for watching.